Welcome back to another episode of the Christmas Advent Calendar podcast. We are opening door 7 today, and I'm going to be joined by our first male on the show, Ian Beighton, Chief Storytelling Officer, founder and host of the internationally acclaimed podcast, So What's Your Story, is joining me, and we will be revealing his 4 areas on where you really need to put your focus into for your business in 2026, as well as giving us his golden nuggets of wisdom on how to make your brand and business shine. His podcast has been named the podcast to listen to in 2025 by Podster Studios in Dubai and Singapore. His podcast was established 4 years ago, and he has produced over 119 episodes to date, where each week he sits down with TV celebrities, actors, fearless entrepreneurs, world champion sportsmen, and even a former FBI to join him in asking them, so what's your story? His new YouTube channel, rebuilt less than 6 months ago, has growth tracking faster than Mr. Beast and Stephen Bartlett, and he's been featured in several global magazines and press articles. It is an absolute honour as a friend of mine to have him on today's podcast, where we dive into not only what's his story, but what to think about in 2026 for businesses. Ian, it is an absolute honour to have you on day 7 of the Christmas Advent Calendar podcast. Welcome.
Well, Lisa, I have to say, 7th of December is getting closer, isn't it? I feel like I should have a Santa hat on or some reindeer, but that's just not me.
Why don't you have your tree up?
You know why? Because actually I'm sitting in a hotel's suite boardroom because I was working before we came on air today. I've got anything Christmassy around me.
You just are Christmas.
I like to think I bring a little bit of that festive cheer with me. Anyway.
You bring the sparkle.
Bring the sparkle, natural sparkle, yeah. But it's a real delight to be here. I'm so honoured and so pleasured. I mean, it's just unbelievable to be in your presence doing this phenomenal project. You know, each day putting out a top tip. Oh my God, I hope mine can encourage people and inspire them. I hope it's good enough. I pray.
No, it is going to be, and it's lovely. You are the only male of season 2 on the podcast. And I thought to myself, if we were going to bring a man on, who would we bring on? And I thought, we're going to bring Ian on. He's a special guy and he does amazing things across your own podcast. So tell us a bit about you and what's your story?
Wow. It's a big question, and I know we haven't got, hours and hours, so I'm going to condense it right down. My name is Ian Beighton. I'm the chief storyteller of this little baby, which is What's Your Story podcast. That sort of was established 4 years ago. But if I just backtrack a little bit, you asked me what my story is. Here's a very, very quick chronology. At 14 years of age, I wanted to better myself. I wanted better things. I was from a modest background, so I got myself a little job, knocking on doors, selling door to door. Boy, oh boy, was it hard. I didn't know what I was doing. I was very young and I got a lot of abuse. Literally got a lot of abuse. I was selling in a low economic society area of Leicestershire, where I'm from. At the end of that week, I went to my granddad and told him what I was doing. I didn't even tell my parents what I was doing because they would have been horrified. They would have kept me in. I told them I was going around my friends every night from 6 till 9:30. I think they had a clue, but nobody ever questioned it. And my granddad was a massive influence and said, Ian, you must be asking the wrong question. And I said, do you know the answer, Granddad, to the question? He said, yes, I do, but I'm not going to tell you. You're a bright kid. Go home, think about it. So all weekend, sat in my bedroom thinking, what's the question? Got it. That moment, going back out on the Monday evening, in the cold, in the rain, knocking on the doors again, but asking the right question, changed my life.
Wow.
Because then at 18, I became a homeowner. At 20, I was married. At 20, I was a father. At 24, I ran a sales team in one of the best printing companies in the country, and we became the best team. However, in that journey up to the age of 30, what I learnt to do was to listen and to ask the right questions. And that is really what I do now. Is after 30, it went a little bit wrong. My life imploded, had a nervous breakdown, and I attempted to take my own life. I feel blessed to be here every day. And as we come into the December month, of course, we switch over into a new year. So that then is another year that I've been here. I'm 56 right now, so that's 26 years ago. So a lot's happened since then. I've rebuilt myself. And I went back in mentally, physically, everything. And I went back into a corporate career. And I don't say this to impress anybody, but by the age of into my 40s, I was climbing the corporate ladder again. And I became senior vice president. Don't really like titles. Don't say that to impress anybody, but to impress upon you that it is possible to overcome the odds. And then 4 years ago, I started this podcast, and thank you for your lovely compliment, Lisa, because it has become very successful. We're listening to in 78 countries around the world right now. We're pacing on our new YouTube channel quicker than Mr. Beast and Stephen Bartlett in the same timeline. We have been featured in global magazines. I interviewed TV celebrities, actors, film producers, fearless entrepreneurs, even a former FBI agent. And
I know.
And I simply sit down with them and I say, so what's your story? But the bit that I'm fishing for, because of my curiosity and my passion for people, is when it went wrong. But not because I'm ruthless and horrible, but because I want to help inspire people just like me that life sometimes does throw challenges at you.
It does.
Life isn't just a trajectory upwards. It's like this.
Absolutely.
I haven't met anybody who it isn't. And when my guests tell me when it went wrong and then explain to me how they got out of that and went again, that's their story, right?
Yeah, of course. That's amazing. And I've listened to several of your podcasts, and I'm always intrigued with, the guests that you've got on. And it's just absolutely wonderful that I think the one thing I really admire about yourself is you just make your guests so comfortable and they just open up and they just talk, because sometimes when you're sitting there and you don't know people, they don't open up as much. But with you, you bring such a warmth to that conversation and they just naturally feel that they can talk. And I think that's lovely, because the purpose there is to serve and to help others that once were potentially in a situation like you, and you want to bring something to their life to help or save them, which is amazing.
Yeah, sure. And it's not, my show isn't about, mental health issues in men or women or anything else. It's just about people's stories. And you're so right, Lisa. And thank you for that. Again, huge compliment and for recognition. I do my best. I say to my guests, I do a lot of research. I make them feel comfortable. I meet them in the studio. I contact them the day before. We have a pre-call, to make sure that we're aligned with each other, because maybe I'm not the right fit too.
Yeah.
And when we go into studio, because of my depth of research, but also I'm listening intently, and I may know that something went wrong and I might steer them. And many of my guests have cried.
Yeah, of course.
On air. And I've said to them, look, do you want me to take that out? We're not live. And they've said, no, leave it in, because it's me. Ian, you dug me into where I thought I'd forgotten about. And I'm not Piers Morgan or anybody like that. I don't do it with nastiness or
no, of course not.
And I say to every guest before they come into the studio, what's off limits?
Yeah.
Don't go there.
Yeah. What's not to be spoken about, or
sure.
how far do you want to take the story or the interview? Of course.
Absolutely. It's their story. They can tell it. I don't know it all. Nobody knows everybody's life story. Only the individual. I'll give you an example. I said to one female, look, just tell me before we go in, what's off limits? She said, please don't talk about my mum. And I said, okay. And she said, do you want to know why? And I said, well, you just told me not to talk about your mum, so no.
So we're not really going there. But why not?
So yeah, it's fascinating. And look, Lisa, everybody has a story.
Of course.
Everybody, you've got a story. You've got a great story. Every listener to this show has got a great story. We've all got one. Yeah. And throughout history, there's been some amazing storytellers. William Shakespeare, Walt Disney,
Yeah.
Roald Dahl, George Lucas with the Star Wars. They're all storytellers.
Yeah.
And Joseph Carroll writes this fascinating piece observationally many, many years ago. The hero of the story in everybody's story is us.
Mm,
But often society conditions that out of us.
mm.
And I think, you talk about my energy. You carry a very light energy with you, beautiful brightness. When you walk into a room, you're so kind, you're so considerate. I know you work with
Thank
your
you.
clients really, really well, really extensively, and you're admired. And that's there's a reason why, because you're authentic, you're yourself, but you carry an energy and you're a compassionate person. You care about people. These are qualities which are starting to disintegrate in certain areas, I think, in society.
Mm-hmm.
And there's an old-fashioned saying that if we all love thy neighbour, imagine if we all loved each other.
Mm.
There would be
Yeah.
no wars.
No, absolutely. There'd be
It'd be
no
lovely.
hatred.
No hatred. I mean,
Yeah.
but that's a whole other subject, isn't it? So,
Yeah. So with your story and your background, the success of your podcast and your businesses, knowing how to do business. And obviously, you've touched on a really, really important point, a couple of words there about being real and authentic.
mm,
As we move into a brand new year, another 365 days around the sun, which obviously I know both you and I are on a very spiritual level. We practice gratitude, we
sure.
carry our frequencies. But we want to talk today about 4 really beautiful tips to support people and inspire them going into
Mm,
2026.
yeah.
And obviously, we had a lovely conversation before we came on air about 4 really key tips that you would like to share with the listeners today. What's your
Mm.
first one?
Yeah, I think it's interesting, isn't it? And I'm gonna make sure that we talk about a specific area, because when
Yeah,
we talk about success, success is perceived by each and every one of us in a different way. So for
of
me,
course.
success is about being healthy and happy and caring and kind as much as you can be. And I think sometimes kindness can be overlooked or misunderstood as weakness, because sometimes we have to make tough decisions.
Mhm.
But what I've decided to do today, Lisa, is to talk about tips in business.
Yes.
Because I'm not just a podcaster. I've had a illustrious career in
Yeah.
corporate.
Yeah.
I've walked into big boardrooms, multi-billion-dollar companies, all the
You've been
rest.
a successful businessman in your own
Yes,
right across all of your years.
yeah, I have, and some of those times have been low, and they weren't. It's been tough, but
Yeah,
we climb again, and that's the thing, isn't it? So I
of
want to talk about
course.
my tips. What I think are the 4 key ingredients to building success, and you can translate this into personal as well if you get a bit creative in your thinking.
Hmm.
So shall we start with tip number 1?
Let's do it.
Tip number 1, you'll notice today I'm sitting here in a branded t-shirt. I actually have a cap as well with my brand. Okay.
Yeah.
So am I a huge international brand? No, of course I'm not. But we have to start somewhere. And if I was to say to people, what is a swoosh on a trainer? Lisa,
Yeah.
quick question. Who's the
It's
brand?
it's Nike.
It's Nike. If we talk about the Golden Arch.
McDonald's.
Right. Okay. So we're getting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't need, and Lisa and I we're in a studio with visual. I hope some of you watch this episode. But if you're listening, you're imagining straight away, you're getting that straight away. There's
Yeah.
others, of course. There's Amazon. There's, Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
There's so many brands that we recognize straight away. So my top tip for the first stage is get your branding right. Now, did I spend a fortune on my branding? Did I get a brand consultant? Did I get a designer? No. I'm synonymous for the glasses and my hair. So part of my logo is
Mm.
glasses and a smile. We
Yeah.
did put the hair in, but it didn't look quite right. And then that's actually my handwriting, the so.
I love
What's your
that.
story? It cost
Yeah.
me less than $500,
Yeah.
and the pink is because it was my mum's favourite colour. God rest her
Mm.
soul. She chose pink before she passed away. I'm not entrenched in the branding per se. Did you know that the founder of Nike, Phil Knight, it was never going to be called Nike. And right on that company nearly went bankrupt 3 times. And right on the 10th hour when they were deciding, Phil, come on, what should we do about the logo? And he imagined himself running, because he was a big runner, and he imagined himself somebody coming past him and the sound of coming past him. And he thought swoosh, like whoosh, whoosh, swoosh, whoosh. And he just drew this. And that was it. Can you believe that?
Do you know what? I actually hadn't ever heard that story. And that is incredible that it's just a huge global brand like that came off the back of something as simple as make a decision. We've got 1 hour before we go under. Draw something, for crying out loud.
Phil, draw something. And he just went into this moment and he imagined this whoosh of air and then drew a swoosh and said, that's it, guys. We're like, let's go. So that's in his book. Shoot dog. But yeah, I mean, look, so brand, think about your brand, think about it. But then always think about, I am the brand as well.
Yeah.
Not just the business. I am the brand.
Yeah, you are your business. And how do you build that magnetic brand? Because you are the driving force behind it each and every day. So what are you doing to show up and create that magnet feel within your ecosystem, like within your brand?
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
People trust people. People, you know, in sales, there's a thing, people buy from people. Well, they do, of course, but they also trust people. And trust isn't a given. You have to earn trust.
Of course.
But it's also about your brand. It's an indirect, you know, LinkedIn writes a lot of posts now about, or some of the brand builders like Amelia Sordell and people like this, they'll talk about things like the importance of the personal brand as well as the business. We seem to forget this.
Yeah.
So my top tip number 1, think about your brand.
Think about the brand. So for everyone listening, going into 2026, think about the brand and the connection with the brand and the business.
Yeah.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Tip 2.
Tip 2 is about your story. These are all connected. Okay. These are all connected. So when we think about brand, when we think about business, let's think about merging them. So I told you my story. Okay. But who is the person behind the business? What's your story? So Lisa, you know, you've got a story. It's a great story.
Yeah.
I think you share part of your story with your colleagues in your community.
Yeah.
No, that's part of the company. Who is the company? Why is the company there? Who are my clients? Who's my ideal clients? Because nobody can sell to everybody.
Yes.
Nobody. Yeah. So find who your clients are. Think about it. You know, if I'm going to take something off my desk in a second, a baseball cap. Okay.
Yeah.
Who is this company going to target that at? Who wants to buy baseball caps and why? Think about that. Think about your successes. You know, how did you win that last business and why? Think about what differentiates you. Because in any sector, I mean, podcasting, there is hundreds and thousands of podcasters out there.
Yeah.
So what makes you different? And there's this thing called a USP in sales that companies talk about, and a lot of people talk about unique selling points. Be careful. Because as business owners, we think we have a unique selling point often. But actually, a lot of people have the same thing. So try and think about what makes us, and the business different.
Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned my style of interviewing. I get approached a lot for people to come onto the show. Ian, I've listened to your show. Would you consider us being a guest? We like your style. I've always asked challenging questions in a kind way. I've always created a nice place, a safe space for my guests. I'm always myself. I don't follow trends.
I love that. I really do. And I think it's about being different, sets you aside, creates a uniqueness to you and a uniqueness to the business. I see so many businesses, especially obviously, let's take my industry, interior design for argument's sake. interior design has such a broad brushstroke, but also can be a small niche. You get so many saturated interior designers with one area, minimalism or elegance, Victorian traditional. And I meet so many businesses that just say, well, I am an interior designer, and we work and go right deep down into the core. Well, what's your purpose? Your want, your why? What sets you aside? Why are you different? Why, out of all of the people in your area, are they going to hire you if you're on a tender lineup with 4 other designers or 5 other designers? So we need to pull that out of you. And I find a lot of businesses come to me with surface level wording. We see so much of this, don't we?
Yes.
And I almost feel sometimes people don't see, well, actually, how can my difference and my story set me aside and make my company more unique? What do I bring to the table? And this is such an important tip, I think, going into 2026, because we're going to get hit with this volume and wall of noise in this digital AI era. I mean, oh my God, we could talk, me and you, for AI for like...
That's a whole separate episode, Lisa.
That's like 3 podcasts in one. We can be here all night long, the whole 30. But I think it is so true that people going into 2026 need to think about, if they are currently feeling surface level in their business and in their brand, how do they create difference? And if you're not bringing your story in, now is the perfect time to bring your story in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Your story is your power.
Yeah.
And when we talk about the why as well, Lisa, let me just mention something on that. I also work with a lot of people, and have over the years, coaching, mentoring, just polishing people's skill sets and my own as well. And when I think about what I'm going to do, yes, start with a why. Simon Sinek wrote a great book about it. But there's also this deeper dive that you talk about. If you could answer 5 whys, you're going to get the actual why. So when we ask why, we start at number 1. And sometimes people say, oh, because. And they say, why? Well, okay, because.
Yeah.
Why?
Why?
And then when you drill down, the surface why is very different to the actual why.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, I do this exercise with so many women that come to me on a one-to-one basis. And I ask them a set of questions. I do, because we start with, when we mentor and coach, the anchoring and the purpose. What makes them get out of bed every single morning? What's the fire and the drive behind the business? Because on the hard days, the surface level isn't going to get you out of bed.
No,
You need to go a hell of a lot deeper to whoosh that warm duvet off, roll your feet out and jump out on those cold winter mornings. And I say to them, when they come back to me with maybe a few whys, I'm like, yeah, we're going to go deeper. And they're like, I don't think I've got deeper. And I'm like, no, this isn't to be rushed. We're going to do this over the next 7 to 10 days, and you're going to go deeper. And by the time we get to the bottom, they go, geez, I never thought I had that in me. Now you've unearthed it. It's so important.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, and again, it can spill into any area.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's all businesses, not just like for your categories or my categories that we look at and work in. It's every single business has to have those deep level whys, be different, and what's their story.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, you talk about interior design, yeah? I'm not an interior designer yet. When I walk into a lovely designed room, my appreciation is straight away. But if I see the same thing, I'm like,
boring.
Boring?
Seen that.
Bye.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Great minds. I love it. Tip number 3.
Okay, tip number 3 is think about, and this is going to perhaps make people go, Ian, why? That's a bit dark, isn't it, for Christmas? Well, no, come on. All right. In fact, let's pick Santa Claus.
Okay.
Right? He leaves a legacy. What is Christmas all about? Wow. Right. So think about this. Think about this, right? Why do we do, it's coming back to this why. Why do we do what we do? But think about your legacy. because you can work your socks off to earn a lot of money. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's your
Yeah.
reason, nothing wrong with that. If you're working your socks off to change lives, great. Maybe the two will merge. Who knows? But what I encourage people to think about is, if you're in a business that you want to succeed, you are going to have to put an enormous amount of effort in consistently.
Yes.
So ask yourself, why am I doing this? And I think that if we look again throughout history, Princess Diana,
Mm,
Gandhi,
mm.
Mandela,
Mother Teresa.
Mother Teresa. But then if we look into business, people like Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson. You may or may not like these individuals. It doesn't matter. They have changed a lot of things. Edison, the light bulb, they
Mm,
left a legacy. Whether they did that at the start, knowing they were going to do that, is debatable.
mm.
But I'm suggesting to you that you think about, here it comes, here's the dark bit.
Go on.
If I were to drop dead tomorrow,
Okay.
what do I leave behind?
Mm.
Do I want to leave that behind?
I think that's a really good question to ask yourself, because I think it really also anchors into your purpose and your why, and the anchoring of the start of the business. What are you doing it all for?
Yeah.
And the
It's like you
legacy
said,
behind
Lisa,
it.
when it gets tough, when the tough gets going, and that could be anything. It could be financial pressures, time pressures, health pressures, whatever it might be, relationship pressures, whatever it might, because they all impact on the business.
Yeah.
If your purpose is not strong enough, your belief, your desire, your drive is going to start to just fall away. And when that falls away, oh boy, the
Yeah.
business will suffer, and so will you.
Yeah. And I think also I see a lot of women that I speak to
Mm,
on a regular basis. They have hobbies, passions,
mm,
but they say, now I want to turn it into a business. How do I make that work?
yeah,
And I say, okay, there's a very big difference here. You've got a creative talent, you've got a wonderful hobby, a wonderful passion, but turning it into the business takes tenacity, grit, determination, and it is sitting down asking those colder questions. You know, if I drop dead in the morning, what would I want to leave? What legacy do I want to leave behind? What's the purpose? The why, the want. The how will always come when the why and the want is,
yeah.
pinpointed, but it is true. It's very important to ask those questions.
I think
Which,
so.
yeah,
I think so. And
whichever.
like you say, there's, it's also about, and I think we're going to touch on this a bit later, but, it's about having the right people to support you through the journey as well, Lisa.
Mm, mm,
I know you do a
yeah.
great job in your business by coaching, mentoring, helping, but really seriously, I mean, I've built a podcast, and my network my team
Mm,
are phenomenal,
yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
They catch the bits that I don't catch. I'm not an audio engineer. I'm not a video editor.
Yeah. 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 And it is, that's so important. And I think we're gonna dive into that in after the next tip. But what is our fourth tip going into 2026?
Well, we've touched on it, haven't we?
We have.
We've touched on the people that I've name dropped throughout this. We've talked about the story. We talked about the founder, everything else. But for me, I'm going to say be real, but I'm also going to
Yeah.
say be human,
Yes.
because there's a real need to be ourselves. And I think we live in this world now of quite a veneered, surface level projection on, for example, social media. I don't have anything against social media in the slightest. And actually, it's essential to my business and many, many businesses now. I could not have achieved what I've achieved without social media.
Yeah.
But we talk about as well, we hear this word a lot, be authentic.
Mm,
Now, to me, there's becoming a cloud of be authentic, because if we imagine an iceberg, when we see the surface of the iceberg, we are not seeing what's below. And for me to be truly authentic, it's to be prepared and okay with being yourself.
Mm.
Now, in my case, when I reflect back at that breakdown all those years ago, part of the problem was I wouldn't talk to anybody about it because I was trying to be masculine. I was trying to be, oh, I'm the guy that started work at I don't know why I've gone into an accent, by the way. I'm the guy that started work at 14, homeowner, this. So I was in my mind, I could do anything
Yeah.
and I didn't need help. And it was a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
But the
If you ask for help.
reflection, yeah, the reflection, the learning, 26 years to learn this and still learning is to be vulnerable. Say I'm not okay.
Yeah. To open up, to talk.
To open up, to talk, even cry. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do get tearful over things, whether it be
Yeah.
happy things or sad things. I get tearful. I'm an
Yeah.
empath.
Yeah.
But it's just to be real and be
Mm.
human
Yeah, of
because
course.
people will see through BS eventually.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I think, you touched upon it about social media and where we are in such a digital age, and people do buy from people
Mm,
energy. People can spot when people are not being authentic or real. And there's only so much facade that you can carry before the kingdom starts to crumble. And if
yeah.
you start by being you and being real, you just build on that every single day, and the
Yeah.
business becomes more successful in its own right. And it's so important, because then I think actually, if you're you and you're real and authentic, you build the right community around you of your people, your tribe. If
Yeah.
you're not, then that's, I think, when you start to run into deeper water, because you attract energies and frequencies
Oh, yeah.
that you don't align to.
100%. And that within that authentic or be real, be human sort of phraseology, I think it's really important, Lisa, to know the right choices and the wrong choices and just learn to also say no occasionally. You
Yeah, that's
know, some,
okay.
some situations are not going to be right for you. Some opportunities are not going to be right for you. Some people are not going to be right for you.
Mhm.
It's okay to say no, thank you, or walk away, or just, put your boundaries and some people listening to this are going to say, oh, it's okay for you. You're a confident guy. You're this, you're that. No, I have made horrendous mistakes in my life,
Mm.
and that's because I was largely people pleasing.
Mm. Yeah, and I think that, I mean, gosh, we could talk about that for.
We've got a few extras to do, haven't we? We've got AI. We've got one
I
hour.
think I think we've got like a whole season of podcasting in 2026. The Lisa and Ian show. What
Lisa
are
and
we
Ian show.
what are we
We'll
talking
launch a
about
new one. We'll
today?
launch a new one.
I mean, hey, between the two of us, we'll get somewhere. But it is true. And I think, I often get that as well. It's like, well, it's okay for you. You're confident. You can go into a boardroom and say that. You can do that. You can say no because you've got the balls to say no. I don't. I can't say that. And I'm like, look, no, it's not whether. I've been in positions where I wouldn't say boo to a goose. I'd always say yes, 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 yes. I would be the people pleaser. I would get walked over. The whole of my 20s was
Mm,
like that, until I decided to discover mindset and energetic work. And
yeah.
then I built my confidence up to say, it's okay to say no. No, that doesn't work for me. That's not who I am. I'm going to say no to this. Thank you very much. So I really, really love that last tip and value for people going into 2026, to look inwards and think, how do I be more me? How do
Yeah.
I be real with my business and my brand and everything I do and approach in 2026, which is really lovely. So, over the course of the podcast that we've had so far, and the recordings, we have spoken a lot about the rooms we position ourselves in, the
Mm,
people we interact with, the
mm.
tables we choose to sit at. How important is it? And I know you touched upon this, a couple of minutes ago. about the community and the people and the teams, but how important is it to have the right network around you?
It's the most important thing. It's the most important thing. You know, there's so many, I could paraphrase so many sayings. You show me a person's 5 closest people now, I will show you them in 5 years' time. You know, if you start hanging around with people who take a lot of drugs and do wrong things, eventually you will probably do it.
Yeah.
So, it's really, really super powerful. Um, I think the studies over the years, deep studies into human behavior, psychologies. I think it fascinates me. I'm fascinated by people, and yeah, again, there's the phrase, "Your network is your net worth." It's true, but I also think that your character is your currency. And when we think about this, let's just explore that a little bit together, Lisa,
Yeah.
because your character is your currency. Hmm. So, does that mean that your character is influenced by the people you have close to you? Of course. If you've got great people around you, if you've got people who aspire to be better, you are likely to think, well, they did it. I can. And just backing up a little bit to your point about people saying to you, you're confident, you can do this, you can go into a boardroom, bop, 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 bop. Hasn't always been like that. And what I say to people again is, I haven't always been like this. Yes, I'm a confident person. Yes, I can come across well. But anything I do new, I crawl, walk, run. I have to get the foundations correct. And in
Yes.
order to get the foundations correct, one of the most essential pieces is who is surrounding you on that journey. If you've got a bunch of naysayers going, "Oh, you can't do that. You'll
That's
never succeed.
impossible.
You'll
Yeah.
never succeed. That's not you. You're not that. You've never done that before." You want to
Mm.
believe that. You never will.
Yeah. And conversely, if you're in a community or a tribe with people that say, yeah, I've done that. Let me show you this. What about this? I love that. Can you stretch yourself to this? What about if you do 2 steps higher? It's going to intellectually challenge you. And then what you're going to do is say, well, of course I can do this. Of course I can, I can take that on. I can do this. I can do this. So it's so important, like you say, to surround yourself with the right currency. And I know with my story, so going back to 2024, I was at an event in the summer, one of my coaches' events, the lovely Samantha Hearn, who we both know.
Yeah.
And I remember standing on the green and she was having photographs with an exclusive group of women. There was a photographer there. And that exclusive group of women were her mastermind girls. So it was the
Wow.
highest coaching circle. And I remember standing there going, that's the next circle I'm making my move into because I need to be in that group of women. And this was in the June. I moved hell or high water and I was in that group by the September because I thought I need to put myself in those conversations. I want to be surrounded by those women. And obviously a year later, more than a year later, I'm still with those amazing women growing and the business has collapsed time and quantum leap. But I always believe surround yourself with your higher self's community.
Oh, yeah.
It's so important.
100%. 100%. I mean, we can draw it again to any area, can't we? You go into the gym, let's say, you look at somebody powerlifting. You've never been in the gym before. It's not going to happen, is it? You're not going to grab that barbell, that dumbbell. You're not going to get there. But if you
Yeah.
go consistently, but also the person who's already there, why don't you ask them? Why don't you say, "Hey, how long did it take you to get into this shape? What advice would you give me? Look at me. I'm not what you are." But most people
Yeah.
because you're giving them a compliment, aren't you? Whether that be a male or a female. You look great, by the way. You look great. I love the way you dress. I love that. Do you have a stylist? Where do you buy your stuff from? It can be anything, can't it?
Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
You know,
Where did you
um,
start? For instance, like where did you start? What did you do? What was your entry level into that?
yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
a lot of people, some won't, but most people like to talk about themselves.
Mm.
And we are human. We like, and if you're showing somebody a compliment, they're going to go, "Hey, buddy, yeah, no problem at all. Well, this is how I started." You know,
Yeah. And this is what you can do too.
this is what you can do too. And
Yeah.
guess what? We are all capable of doing anything if we get the right
Mm.
mindset. Going back to that Carroll piece that I mentioned very, very early on, we are all the hero in our own story.
Yes.
Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Don't forget that.
I love that. And I think that is such a beautiful piece to end today's podcast on. We are all the hero in our own story. Ian, it's been amazing. We have covered brand, we have covered how to be different, what's your story, legacy, authenticity, be real, and the character is your currencies. The tribe, the network, the net worth today has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for joining me on today's podcast.
It's been my pleasure, Lisa, an absolute pleasure, seriously. On the 7th of December as well, lucky
I know
7. I like
you're
that. Thanks for
you're
that. I mean, that was
lo-
a bit of a that was a bit of a bonus. But,
yes,
seriously, anybody listening, thank you for listening. But also, do remember exactly what we've spoken about today. Revisit this and think about next year as it gets closer and closer and closer. Don't make a New Year's resolution. You don't need to. You can change your life right now.
you can change it on the
Um,
7th of December.
You can change on the 7th of December. And Lisa, you are amazing. And thank you so
Thank you.
much for this real honor and privilege. It's been an absolute delight. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And for more people that want to find out more about Ian, hear his story, listen to his podcasts, touch base with him, and dive into his amazing world, because I know how amazing it is, then all of his details are going to be in the show notes. And you can join me again tomorrow for another powerhouse packed podcast. Thank you so much.